Now, last night was the Nevada primary. Remember, Trump was not on the ballot. He's participating in the caucus tomorrow. That is the voting that actually counts for RNC delegates. Not exactly sure what Nikki Haley's team was thinking, but they opted to participate in Nevada's primary, despite no delegates being at stake. And she's not participating in the caucus. It was either one or the other. This is where things got a little bit weird. In Nevada's primary, well, voters are allowed to choose, quote, none of these candidates on the ballot. That option yesterday ended up beating Nikki Haley by over 30 points. Now, Nikki Haley's home state of South Carolina is up next. Now the question has got to be asked, after a third-place finish in Iowa and the caucuses there, double-digit loss in New Hampshire, last night's numbers, you know, the question is, if Nikki Haley doesn't win her home state, what is her path for the nomination? We'll ask her in a soon-to-come interview. All right, according to the Real Clear Politics average, as of now, she is losing to former President Donald Trump by more than 30 points in her home state of South Carolina. And speaking of polls, we have brand new Gallup surveys. They spell a lot more trouble for Joe Biden, as Democrats now are struggling with very key demographics that helped elect him in 2020. Look at the surveys conducted during the entirety of 2023. Democrats' advantage among non-Hispanic black voters is down to its lowest level since 1999, while their margin with Hispanic voters is now at its lowest level since 2011, down to just 12 points. But it's not just minority voters that Democrats are struggling with. They're also losing ground with young voters. According to the Gallup poll, their advantage with 18 to 29-year-old voters is now just 8 points. That's the lowest level since 2005. And while the Democrats and Biden are struggling in the polls as a whole, perhaps no one has suffered a bigger polling crisis than your giggling vice president. That's right, Vice President Harris, who, according to a new NBC survey, now has a favorability rating of only 28% compared to 53% who have a negative view of her. And as Democrats continue sliding in these polls, the Supreme Court, they are poised to hear arguments over the left's attempt to remove Trump from the ballot in Colorado tomorrow. Now, a tactic that former Obama advisor, David Axelrod, he's a lot of things. He's not dumb. He called it very disruptive. Here's what he said earlier today. Take a look.
There are myriad legal questions that they're going to consider tomorrow. Some will undoubtedly offer off-ramps if they want an off-ramp. But I'm trying to imagine what it would be like if the Supreme Court said, we're removing the front-running Republican candidate from the ballot and essentially saying to the American people, you won't have the opportunity to vote for him. And I think it would be very, very disruptive in this country. I think it will create a huge reaction, and that worries me.
Well, it should, I think. Anyway, in terms of, does that, for the people that claim, oh, democracy is in peril, how undemocratic. Meanwhile, Biden is refusing to sit down for a Super Bowl interview. This is now the second year in a row he has refused to do that. After yesterday, maybe it's kind of easy to see why. Let's refresh your memories.
There is some movement, and I don't want to, well, maybe choose my words. There's some movement. There's been a response from there's been a response from the opposition, but yes, I'm sorry, from Hamas.
Oh, that's right. The terror group is called Hamas. What about all the people that were critical when I was one of the first people to point out this significant cognitive decline? You still defending Joe's cognitive state? Now, that wasn't Biden's only flub of the week. He also made a major slip-up when speaking at a campaign event in Vegas on Sunday. Let's refresh your memory on that one.
Right after I was elected, I went to what they call a G7 meeting, all the NATO leaders. It was in the south of England. And I sat down and I said, America's back. And Mitterrand from France looked at me and said, you know, how long are you back for?
Ask yourself a question. Have you ever gone to Walmart, Target, And a lot of times they have greeters. They tend to be older people, retired, that for whatever reason, maybe they're just bored, they want a little extra cash. They meet you, they greet you. Welcome to Walmart. And then you say, how are you? Can I help you with anything? They're the nicest, most helpful people you'll ever meet in your life, and pleasant and smart. I don't think Joe could be a Walmart greeter, because I don't think he could remember in a Walmart superstore whether or not where all of the different departments are. I don't think he could do that job. Newsflash to President Joe Biden. President Mitterrand died in 1996. So unless you're time traveling or you're speaking to a ghost, you didn't speak to President Mitterrand. No wonder Joe snubbed the Super Bowl interview now for the second year in a row. The reason is obvious. He is totally incapable of handling any unscripted interview. Now, tonight, instead of dealing with the border crisis, Biden is participating all day in fundraisers in New York City and stifling traffic there. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.